What's up, everybody? I wanted to do a most recent video update because throughout the past 2 or 3 years, I've had sporadic comments on my YouTube channel about, in particular, my Cipro video. I think got around 10,000 views. I think I've since made it private. I've made a lot of my videos private because they're pretty personal and they're still up there, but I just don't like them being available to the public because that was a very tough time for me, and I don't like that side of my life being so readily available. I mean, I can provide them on request, but I've made most of them private. But people have been replying about basically the same situation that happened to me is happening to other people, them getting jacked up by fluoroquinolone antibiotics. And people have been wanting me to do a update on my condition. Um, so I'll tell you that basically I feel like I'm probably around the same weight, and I can't speak for being healthy again. I'm not healthy again. I'm not the way I was, but the thing is that I also have Lyme disease, and I know that it's affecting me. So to try to determine how much of this is Lyme disease and how much of this is what the Cipro did is a bit of guesswork. So I'll just tell you what I think. I do believe this strongly that in September of 2011, because I had ingested so much Cipro and Flagyl, that my body became very toxic. These are toxic drugs, and I was not able to detox them properly. In other words, crap them out because I was so constipated. So I started achieving this high level of toxicity. Um, Started getting depressed and etc. and just all kinds of weird stuff. While on these poisons, I developed a permanent spasm in my pelvic floor, which is still going to this day. One of the most bizarre things that I've ever seen. Um, it's just a permanent twitch in my pelvic floor. They're muscles that you can't control. Um, but the things that happen with my digestion and those types of things I think are mostly related to the Lyme. While I was to go back, while I was on those medications, they collected in the bottom of my descending colon, in the bottom of my descending colon, and basically my colon felt like it was about to burst because there was so much collected in there. And at some point, something happened in there. That the body is just so complex. We don't fully understand the way the brain and the parasympathetic nervous system, the way your colon knows to push through food through, and the network of nerves in there is it's not fully understood. But something happened in there to trigger that twitch inside my body. Uh, and it was verified by a physical therapist. It was never actually verified by a doctor. I never actually got a doctor to verify it. But that was the thing that really set me over the edge, was that twitch. I felt like I was going crazy. And of course the toxicity of the Cipro compounded everything. And for the next 2 years, mainly for the next year, I can't begin to relate to anybody that hasn't gone through, I called it the Cipro dream, the nightmare that my life became. I just can't, and I'll be honest with you, it was mainly a sort of mental nightmare. I did feel toxic due to the drugs and probably my diet and probably the Lyme disease. So it was just a cocktail of poison and negativity and depression that I mean, you would, if you saw those videos, you would understand it. That wasn't just simple depression. That was a combination of multiple negative influences. Um, I do believe, though, in the years that have followed, the degeneration of my joints and the problems that I've had with my joints and muscles are not because of the Lyme disease mainly. I think they are mainly because of the way that the fluoroquinolones are able to penetrate and basically just destroy tissue. I mean, they did studies on puppies where they gave them fluoroquinolones and their cartilage just completely melted away. So, I mean, what do you think is going to happen when they give it to humans? And that stuff doesn't really regrow back. So I think it's kind of like now I have the joints of a 70-year-old, even though I'm like maybe 60-year-old. But you know what I'm saying, even though I'm only 42. Uh, so I lived for basically after 2 years after 2011, I sort of got to the point where I could mentally handle my life in about 2013 in Nashville. I started doing all those videos. I played EverQuest. I played poker for a while. I streamed a lot of EverQuest for about 2 or 3 years. And you can see those videos. You can see my streams. Ended up getting banned from Twitch. It was just all drama from playing EverQuest and stuff. So that was a big part of my life, was playing EverQuest for those years. And I mean, you could say wasting time, but I finally got a job in 2017, and I was able to work for 9 months, and I was able to work fairly successfully, going to work full time. The weakness sort of faded after about a year, the weakness and the real severe problems. So now I'm sort of like a functioning skeleton. I really don't know what the future entails, but it's sort of like it added years to my life. So the problems that I'm probably going to experience are problems that a person that is much older than we would experience. The spasm itself hasn't really caused me any pain. So, I had a job, like I said, in 2017, and then through some dumb stuff, I ended up getting fired at the end of 2017 and moved to Ohio for almost a year. A friend there had a house that I rented, and then ended up moving back to Virginia Beach, where I originally came from. So now I'm in the area that this whole mess happened, but it hasn't really affected me too bad mentally. So really a lot of it has just been trying to forget about the past and how horrible those years were. So that's why it's been hard for me to go back and try to stay on that train of how evil Cipro is, because it's related to, all the potential I saw for myself, and then just sort of like my fall from grace. So I just take each day at a time, and I'm trying to get a job here. I actually do have a job here. It doesn't pay much, so I'm starting over because I've forgotten everything I knew, which wasn't that much when I had the decent paying job. But it's a pretty boring life, because of the Lyme disease. I am a little paranoid of getting in a relationship because there's some books and stuff that say that it's sexually transmitted and all, so I've got to just be careful. And maybe it's really late for me. That's a whole other story. But as far as my condition goes, I'd always have I always have digestion issues. I can't eat a whole lot, or my stomach gets really full. I can go a long time without eating, and my stomach still feels full. So I really think that is actually the Lyme. It doesn't really have much to do with Cipro, but I've had problems with my knees. Sometimes my knees feel like they're bone on bone, and that I attribute mostly to the degradation that happened because of the fluoroquinolones. So if I have any new issues, I'll let you guys know. And thank you everyone for putting up your stories and checking in on me. I mean, just keep fighting.